Welcome to Thessaloniki. I see some gray hair in the audience, so perhaps I should clarify the acronym GOAT that is borrowed from the world of sports and refers to the greatest of all time. The GOAT refers to the Gill oxygen limitation theory that is the main theme of this morning's session. I'm Donna Dimarchopoulou, a fisheries biologist and graduate of the School of Biology of the Aristotle University of Thessaloniki. And in this talk, I will give a brief introduction to the gold and its history, as well as the man behind the gold, Pauly, who will give the first keynote of this symposium shortly on breathing water in a warming world. Let's start with a brief history of the Gill oxygen limitation theory, which describes how fish size is expected to decrease in warming waters because the gill surface area cannot keep pace with the elevated oxygen demand needed to maintain metabolic functions in warming waters. The history of the gold started with Daniel Pauly's doctoral dissertation on gill size and temperature as governing factors in fish growth. The dissertation was written with a typewriter, if anybody remembers what that is. And it was published in 1979 at Gill University in Germany. In his dissertation that was reissued earlier this year as a second edition with the exact same content but with only typographical errors corrected, Daniel provided evidence that in fishes it is primarily oxygen rather than food supply which limits anabolism and growth performance, mainly due to the fact that gills do not grow with increasing size as fast as body weight, and to the fact that fishes can store only a very small amount of oxygen. Throughout the following decades, Daniel progressed from his initial observations to forming the concept, developing and formalizing the theory that is now widely known as the Gill oxygen limitation theory, or the GOAT in short. He published the first edition of the book Gasping Fish and Panting Squids on oxygen, temperature, and the growth of water-breathing animals in 2010 that speaks about the GOAT, and the second edition of this book came out in 2019, where Daniel provides new evidence supporting the GOAT and resolves various misunderstandings connected to the GOAT. In 2021, Daniel published an extensive review of the GOAT in Science Advances and its scope in providing mechanisms for key aspects of the biology of water-breathing ectotherms, linking body weight, metabolism, and oxygen supply under baseline conditions versus stressful warmer environments that require more oxygen. He particularly focused on the arguments raised against the GOAT throughout the years, refuting each one of them with counter-arguments, while discussing some real issues and challenges connected to the GOAT and looking into the future and evolution of the theory. A quick Google Scholar search, or a mini citation analysis, if you will, of the keyword Gill oxygen limitation theory in the published and grey literature included in Google Scholar, revealed an increasing scientific interest in GOAT and its applications since 2017, with a maximum of 58 documents reported from Google Scholar for 2022, the majority of which, more than 80%, are not co-authored by Daniel. The first mention in a paper of the GOAT was in 2008. We are not including in this search books, and obviously 2024 is still ongoing. Based on the underlying considerations of the GOAT, in 2022, Daniel and I co-edited a special issue for the journal Environmental Biology of Fishes titled Fishes in a Warming and Deoxygenating World. The 18 articles that were included in this special issue are case studies that are based on data collected all around the world, as we can see here, and that jointly should facilitate a more comprehensive understanding of the effects of climate change, warming and deoxygenation on fish and other marine organisms. This is a conceptual map that links the different papers published within the special issue that we can see in green ellipses together. Here we can see that most of the papers focused on the effects of temperature on fish and invertebrates, on phenology, natural mortality, growth of fish, but also on fisheries catches, while the rest of the publications focused on deoxygenation effects either on single species or on communities. Two cross-cutting ideas that we see on the left and right of this graph, one of them being the gold, provide the framework for these published papers, highlighting how we, as air-breathing animals, need to fully comprehend the limitations and difficulties of breathing water through gills to be able to fully understand the impact of climate change on fish and invertebrates. As a continuation and further expansion of this special issue, we, myself, Thanasis Tsiglias, and maybe Daniel, are co-editing a collection for the new journal Discover Oceans, whose editor-in-chief is William Chan, titled Fishes in Changing Ecosystems. In this collection, we invite contributions that address the diverse responsive of marine populations in a changing ocean that is impacted by climate change, overfishing, and other anthropogenic pressures, but also the potential mitigation measures that can be taken to ensure healthy ecosystems into the future. All relevant contributions from this symposium are welcome to be submitted and go through peer review. Please use the QR code to check out this collection and submit your paper. And keep in mind that the initial submission deadline is the end of this year. I see some phones taking the QR. It will come also at the last slide for a bit. And now, after this brief introduction to the gold, let me introduce you to the man behind the gold, Daniel Pauly. Daniel Pauly is a Gill professor at the University of British Columbia in Canada. He is a charismatic speaker and a leading advocate for the protection of our world's ocean. He is the most highly cited fisheries scientist with over 150,000 Google Scholar citations and over 1,000 publications on fisheries, marine ecosystems, conservation biology, and beyond. His vision of science into the future and his ability to see the bigger picture have led to the development of widely used and highly impactful large-scale databases and projects, including SeaLifeBase and FishBase, The Sea Around Us, whose title was inspired by Rachel Carson's homonymous influential book, and the widely used ecosystem modeling software EcoPath with Ecosim. Novel, highly impactful concepts in fish biology and fisheries science have emerged from Daniel's work, including shifting baselines, a powerful concept about generational amnesia regarding the state of the natural world. Fishing down marine food webs, a concept that describes how ecosystems are driven by overfishing from large high trophic level species to smaller lower trophic level species, thus disrupting the balance of food webs. And of course the Gill oxygen limitation theory, on which you will hear more very shortly from Daniel himself. Daniel Pauly has received honorary doctorates from at least 4 universities around the world, including our very own Aristotle University of Thessaloniki in 2005, and countless prestigious awards, including the Tyler Prize for Environmental Achievement last year, the Ramon Margalef Prize in Ecology and Environmental Science, the International Cosmos Prize, and the Great Supervisor Award from UBC in 2019. He has been a great supervisor to students in 4 languages on 5 continents, and a great mentor to dozens of students and young researchers all around the world. Daniel has authored and co-authored many influential books, including the book on the sex of fish and the gender of scientists, that is a collection of essays in fisheries science. Darwin's Fishes, that includes everything that Charles Darwin ever wrote about fishes. The book 5 Easy Pieces, that features 5 science and nature publications on the devastating impact of modern industrial fisheries on marine ecosystems. The book Gasping Fish and Panting Squids on the Gulf that I mentioned earlier. And the book Vanishing Fish on Shifting Baselines and the Future of Global Fisheries. Besides the books that Daniel has written himself, a book has been written about him and his remarkable life and work. David Camillet, a well-known ecologist and biological oceanographer at CNRS in Montpellier, France, did a thorough background research by interviewing a lot of people around the world and wrote a fantastic biography of Daniel Pauly that is very well balanced in the way it covers both his personal life but also his scientific achievements. I personally could not put the book down once I started reading it, so I highly recommend it. There is so much more to say, but I have to end here. I want to finish this prologue with this anecdotal photo of this very room and this very symposium 11 years ago. From right to left, we can see Thanasis Tsikliras, Kostas Teriou, and Denk Palomares. 2 of them are here today too. And on the left, we see Daniel Pauly presenting his then newly published work with William Chang and Greg Watson on the mean temperature of the catch index and the impacts of ocean warming on global fisheries catches. I was in that audience back then as a master's student, new to the field of fisheries biology and truly inspired and motivated. A decade later, this motivational experience led me write a successful proposal on the MTC index and the impacts of climate change on fisheries catches that gave me the opportunity to conduct postdoctoral research at highly prestigious institutions in the US and Canada. With the hope that this symposium will be an inspiration for the next generation of scientists, I wish us all fruitful and productive discussions. And without further ado, I give the floor to Daniel. Thank you.